wrestling. I know it sounds like Vince. I just wanted to say it because he always had the voice that makes it important. I'm sticking to that. Oh man, look, I didn't see last week. Like I said, in the beginning of that week, I was just sick. So I did know the week before they were going to go to Mexico City, which I took a guess that last week was the first tapings, this is the second tapings, and I have no idea what happened there. Just have little snippets. I haven't looked. So you can fill me in on what I've missed if you wish, if you guys want to. I don't mind it. I'll be alright with it. But I'm going to say this. Was this a good show? Yes, it was. It was a good show. But I got to say this before I get started on the review. When you are going to go look for Impact Wrestling, as far as I can tell, Twitch Prime and Amazon Prime, there are no streams for that yet, where there are no commercials. So from what I can tell from the sites I normally go to, they're using Twitch. Now, I don't know how long this is going to last, and I want to be honest about this. When I was on the Twitch channel, there was not even 6,000 people on it. It was barely holding at under 5, and it did peak a little bit above 5 into 6 and then went right back down to 5. I don't know how long Impact Wrestling is going to be using Twitch, because it's really not giving them that much. I mean, yeah, they're going to get a couple of bucks, like $5 for a month for each person that subscribes. But I do not know how long they're going to maintain this. To be honest, it's kind of a waste for them to do it. Mind you, I'm enjoying it because it's a more of a legitimate place to go to, even with the commercials. And I'll say this. At first, when I saw John Callis, and look, you don't like Josh Matthews. He kind of look like a beady-eyed little troll. But at least it's much more entertaining to see two guys talking to one another than seeing some stupid freaking commercials. Seeing them interact with the people there is actually a nice thing to see. It's different compared to the WWE. I admit that. And at first when it was doing this, I thought this ain't going to last long. This is going to be garbage. But then as I got into it, at least I see it as something different. That I don't have to watch some stupid commercials. So I'll put it in that respect. Now, let's get to the opening of the show, which was a 6-man tag with two guys that come from AAA, which is, Daga and Taurus. I could be wrong about the names. And Daga was with LAX and Taurus was with the Lucha Brothers. Good match. No real big problems with it. I didn't really have an issue with the match. Admittedly, I'll say it in disrespect, because they're not pushing the emphasis that LAX is going to be fighting against Lucha House Party. No, I'm saying Lucha House Party instead of Lucha Brothers. They're pissing me off in WWE that Lucha House Party is a piece of garbage. But seeing the Lucha Brothers being put over well was very nice. I was alright with it. But since there's still no conflict between them, where Conan should be choosing between Lucha Brothers and LAX. Either they're saving it for a pay-per-view, or they just decide not to go there, which I think is not a very good thing to do. I think it would have been wiser for Conan to choose. But anyway, in the end, LAX gets their butts kicked. But here's the thing that I wish the WWE would take notes on. When it was over, you allowed Pentagon Jr. to talk. And yes, it is pre-recorded. But I say this very clearly to anyone who doesn't understand what I'm saying. If you go to the UN, they have people there that interpret what's being said by other members of that body. And they give instant responses. Why can't the WWE do that? They hire someone who understands Spanish or Japanese and let these guys and girls talk in their native language and put freaking subtitles on it. Hell, you can put it on the freaking Titantron for the crowd to hear and understand. This is what I hate. The WWE doesn't understand. And pretty much they wanted a rematch. I'm alright with it. LAX pretty much said in their backstage segment that they have no problem with Lucha Brothers. They're glad to be doing this again. But Conan once again clearly says, make this professional, not personal. So that keeps leaving the hint that they will have a feud. But if Konnan is not going to choose between the two and he walks away again, that's a waste of my time. Konnan, and I'm not a huge fan of Konnan, needs to choose between Lucha Brothers and LAX and make it look good. Now, let's go to Scarlett Bordeaux at poolside with her manservant. Now, since I didn't see what happened last week, I don't know what beginning training she's done to get ready to go into the ring. She's coming out looking fine. Woo! I say this again, and I'm going to keep saying it. Whoever has her heart, I don't care if it's a man or woman, you are a lucky bastard, and the other word for the lady. You are. She looks like, not because she has a sexy ass body, she generally, from what I've heard, is a very nice person. Not all of the wrestlers I've ever heard of are good. I mean, Hulk Hogan and some others have made their mistakes and they have been rude. Sasha Banks has pissed off a lot of people and she has an attitude. But there's a lot of good wrestlers out there. And from what I understand, she's one of them. She pretty much used the guy as a punching bag, kicked him in his side, and he fell in the pool. Let's just look at her right now in my face with that lovely cleavage and that beautiful face. A deep breath of passion and horniness. Now I take her away. Let's move on to the Rascals versus Eddie Edwards and Eli Drake. Since I don't know how they managed, well, I'll put it like this. I don't know how Eli convinced Eddie to work with him. But they are working together. The Rascals had their match with them. And I will say this, Dez is my favorite wrestler between all three of them. Tay is cool. He's good. The other guy, I forgot his name. I forgot his name. But Dez is the most talented in that ring. He just is. He's got incredible high-flying ability. He's almost at the point where if he does a drop kick just right, he can drop kick you and land on his freaking feet. That's how flexible the guy looks. I believe one day, by accident on purpose, he's going to give somebody a drop kick. He's going to do a drop kick, backflip, land on his damn feet. That's going to show you how talented he is. And this was about Eli convincing Eddie to be his partner and to show he doesn't need hardcore wrestling, but when it's time, he'll use it himself. And that is Eli Drake. He takes Kenny and whacks in the head. I forgot who it was. It's right here. I don't remember who got whacked. I think it might have been Dez. But he whacks him. Eddie gets to win. And then Eddie's angry because he's wondering why something is not right. Now, I don't know how far they're going to go with this. And it's really apparent to at least me, and I could be wrong, that Eli is setting up Eddie so he can truly betray him very well. Getting really close to him, having him trust him, and then taking his freaking head off. And that's what I am hoping he does. Because seeing this, yes, it's interesting. And he could make it all the way to LAX. But honestly, Eli should be in the main title scene. Honestly, that you've had Eddie in the main title scene multiple times. I want to see Eli go back to the main title scene. I want to see him go up against Brian Cage because they have a history. A real history that could make their feud interesting. Now, a very curious match. Fallah Bahh versus, Killer Clown? Psycho Clown. Coming in with a flamethrower hand. In America, you're not allowed all the time to have something like that. It's not allowed. You can't do flamethrowers at all. It's illegal by the United States government. But since this is Mexico City, he can get away with that ass. And I liked it. It's one of the disadvantages of living in America where they have banned certain things. But in this situation, it felt pretty cool. The match wasn't that great. But it was interesting to see a AAA Mexican wrestler, if he is Mexican, I don't care if he's Mexican or not. He's a pretty good wrestler. In the end, he did win the match. It's not like we're going to see him in Impact Wrestling soon. I doubt it. Now, Rick Swann, as well as Tessa Blanchard, had video packages. Well, no, Rick Swann had a video package, and Tessa Blanchard had a, Instagram video package. Well, Instagram, basically. But let's do Tessa first. She was pissed. And that's the way she should be acting. I am still not a huge Tessa Blanchard fan. She's growing on me. I still don't believe she's the be-all, end-all of professional wrestlers. I do believe that she is far above better than Charlotte. I'm being honest here. If you compare Charlotte to Tessa, at least I can say with Tessa, she adapts to the wrestlers that she's with. She may not be great at it, but at least she understands, I gotta act like this. I gotta act like that. Oh, I need to adjust. And Charlotte, as talented as she is, when she acts like a dad, just does not look good in the ring when she's not with somebody she's very familiar with. So I will say that she's growing on me. And this video that came from Instagram pretty much said, I'm coming for you on the, the 12th or the 24th? I can't remember when the next pay-per-view is coming up. I don't remember. I'm sorry. You can leave it below. But in February, they're going to have their match at a pay-per-view. Okay. Once you see Taya, she basically reinforces that. And I have no problem. And then you got this new woman that has taken Mackenzie's place. I don't know how to feel about it yet. She's cute, but I don't know. I don't know. Mackenzie had a certain charm that I liked. Mackenzie just seemed awkward sometimes, which I think she did on purpose to make her be cute. And I like that. That's just me. Now, we got a Rick Swann's vid pack, which I liked very much. Since it had a little bit of actual history, that Rick had no family, no one to watch out for him, and it was Sami Callihan that took him under his wing, and trained him. He even said at one point, if it was real or not, that he could have lost his marriage because he was watching out for me. Now, if that's a real thing, if that might have really been a real situation, this makes it really personal and more better than most storylines we get even in the WWE. That means a lot if someone is willing to watch out for you and sacrifice even his possible marriage for you because he believes in you and he cares. And this makes it more interesting what Rich is going to do. Is he going to turn against Willie Mack? Will he stay with Willie Mack? Are these two going to have a feud? I don't really know which one is the best storyline to go through. I'm anxious to I really want to know. Alright, what else do we have? Allie and Su Yung versus Kira and Jordynne Grace. Jordy's thick like Rhino. She moves like Rhino. She hits like Rhino. Thank goodness she doesn't look like Rhino. In the sense that that's a guy. Because she has a nice body. And when it comes to this match, it didn't feel like much. And that's a problem for me. You see, as I've said before, once Allie turned to Su Yung, she should have looked like an undead bridesmaid. She should have performed like an undead bridesmaid. She should have been wearing the clothes of one. And then, when the pay-per-view happened, Homecoming, then she should dress as she is now. She feels wrong. She doesn't show anything that really interests me. She doesn't show like she's totally under Su Young's control. She just acts like an angry Allie. And that's the problem. And I know people would say, well, that's because she's not fully on the dark side. That's the reason when you saw at the end of the match, when Rosemary appeared, when Su Yung disappeared, that's why she seems to be that way. You don't understand. What I'm talking about is that from the very beginning, she should have looked totally and completely subservient. And then after a certain amount of time, it drops off and then she acts angry. She's acted the same way for months and months. And that was the problem. Sorry if it's lights blinking. For some reason, my outlet's acting stupid. She's been acting the same way for months. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work for me. The only thing that's going to save this is when they finally have their match. Because they need one. They can't keep this up forever, her trying to convince Allie to join her. Rosemary must face Allie and beat her. That's the only way this is going to make sense, where either Rosemary convinces Allie to come back with her, or she finally disappears and goes with Su Yung and becomes even darker, maybe a better character. That's just me. Let's see here. The Rascals I did talk about. Okay. LAX segment. Okay, the final match of the night. If I'm forgetting anything, I'm sorry. This is Moose and Killer Kross versus... I don't know who came up with this idea of having Brian Cage and Johnny work together. Now, it's not a bad idea. It isn't. But I don't know. There's something missing. I don't know. Maybe it's because I missed last week, and that might be the reason that this doesn't feel exactly right. But when it comes down to it, this match wasn't bad, but it feels like something was missing for me, and it could be because I didn't see last week's show to get more content in, to be able to really digest this enough, to really feel like it's believable. Because it doesn't 100% feel believable that Brian and Johnny is really at odds with one another. It just feels like something is missing. And I think the reason there's something missing, at least for me personally, could be Taya. Taya should have been with Johnny in that room when he was talking with Brian. And I think that might be the thing that's messing with me, but it could be something else that just feels like it's missing. The match was good. It wasn't incredibly great, but it was good. And I think at one point, Johnny might have dropped Killer Kross directly on his head because he did not look right afterward. He recovered, but he did not look comfortable. In the end, you got Johnny kicking Brian, and then Brian wanted to take off Johnny's head, and then Moose basically spearing Johnny, and Brian did not help him. Cage left it. So when it comes down to it, in 2 weeks, they're having the next, I believe, another pay-per-view, which is good. If it is a pay-per-view, if it's a themed Impact, man. But if it's an actual pay-per-view, good. You got my attention. I like seeing a pay-per-view. I do. I like to see them make money and feel like they're a legitimate company instead of doing these themed Impacts every single time. It feels different. This was a good show. Admittedly, the last match did not feel right. That something was missing. And it could have been Taya. That could have been it. Even though she did her interview, I really feel like Taya should have been involved in that. But that's just me. You guys tell me below. Have a good day. Have a good night. Peace.